Hi, kids, and welcome, sixth graders, to our interview with Mrs. Maria Keller, who is a high school teacher and who is a citizen of both of the United States and Switzerland. So, thank you for being here with us, Mrs. Keller. Um, First question today is how is it that you became a Swiss citizen?
Hi kids, this is Mrs. Keller. So I became a Swiss citizen. I was born in the United States in Denver, Colorado. But when I was a few months old, I was adopted, and my parents who adopted me, my father is a Swiss citizen, and my mother is a U.S. citizen. So um, that's how I became a dual citizen.
Where did you live in Switzerland, and can you describe the town?
So I lived in the town of Lausanne, and to back up, so again, I was born in Denver, and we lived in the United States and moved back to Switzerland, my father's country, when I was 5 years old, about kindergarten. So from that point on, from kindergarten to about seventh grade, I lived in Switzerland. So when I lived in Switzerland, I lived in the city of Lausanne, which is not as big as New York City for sure, but not in the country the way we are out here. So in the city of Lausanne, there's a lot of buses, transportation, and everyone lives in an apartment building. No one really has, in the city proper, no one has a house like a lot of people do out here. So I live in an apartment building, just like pretty much everybody else in the city. Um, Actually lived on the fourth floor, no elevator, and yeah.
Okay. What was it like going to school in Switzerland?
School in Switzerland is a little different. Let's see. Let's talk about some of the differences. Number one, being in a city, everyone walks to school. All right, there are no school buses. Everyone just walks to everyone has like a local neighborhood school. By the time you get to middle or high school, you have to take public transportation, like maybe hop on a public bus and go to different classes all over the city. But for elementary, which would be your age, you would just go to your local school and everybody walks to and from school. The other difference with school is that there is no cafeteria. They don't make food for you. There's no breakfast, no lunch there. So what everyone does, and including not just children and students, but also parents, anyone who works. So between the hours of noon and 2 o'clock, everything closes down. Stores close, parents come home, children come home, everybody walks home, and that's when you have your big meal of the day. So from noon to 2 o'clock, everybody's at home. I was very fortunate. My mother cooked us a great fresh meal every single day, and we would just kind of like rest, and then you would have to go back to school from 2 to 4. So you actually walked to school, came home for lunch, walked back to school, and then came back home at 4 o'clock. Another difference with school is that Wednesday afternoons there was no school. Same with all businesses closed Wednesday afternoon. It's just a day of rest or afternoon. I'm not actually even sure why we did it that way. But everything closes Wednesday afternoons, including schools, but you have to make that up on Saturday morning. So you had to go to school Saturday morning.
What are some differences between foods eaten here and what you grew up with?
So foods, when I was a kid, I remember eating lots of fresh foods. Like I said, my mother and most people at that time would go to the farmers market. It would take over like this huge area of the city. Up and down, there were farmers markets all over the place. And so every Wednesday and Saturday, pretty much the way it is here, people would go and get all their fresh stuff at the farmers market. My mother would also go and shop fresh for, go to the butcher shop, and then she might stop by the boulangerie, which is like the pastry shop, maybe if we were going to have a treat. And she would just go every morning. That was her morning. She would go in the morning, go do all her shopping, not in one place like Stop and Shop or Price Chopper, but just at all these different places. And then come home, spend the morning cooking our big meal, and then everybody would come home at noon and eat.
Do you remember any unusual foods?
Oh, well, I don't know if everyone eats this, but as a kid, I remember being really grossed out by, we were served cow's tongue once. And that was kind of gross. I remember it being really tough and chewy, and I could see the taste buds on the tongue, and so that was kind of creepy. Another meal we would sometimes have, which was really good actually, is ossobuco, which is when you get bones, you buy the bones and you kind of cook them in the sauce, and then the greatest thing is you take the inside stuff, you scoop it out, the marrow, and you put it on a piece of bread. Delicious.
Excellent. Where did you go on vacation or travel to?
So because Switzerland is a tiny country, you can drive across the whole country in a couple hours, kind of like the state of Massachusetts. And it's surrounded by all these other countries. So it's very easy to travel. The Lac Léman, where I lived in Lausanne, is a lake where you could actually see across it, and on the other side of the lake is France. So you could actually go to the lake and wave to the people in France, across it's a pretty big lake. You could take a boat to it.
What language did you speak?
So in the part where I lived, I speak French. And so if you look at Switzerland on a map, you have Switzerland, and then you have Italy, and you have France, right? And then you have Germany. So depending on what part of Switzerland you lived in, if you kind of live close to Italy, then you would speak what we called Swiss Italian, which is not completely pure Italian, but kind of a hybrid Swiss Italian. If you lived on this part, and this is all backwards for you guys, but if you live close to the German side, then you would speak Swiss German. And if you live closer to across the lake, close to that lake that borders France, you would speak French. So I happen to be in the part that was close to France, and so I speak French.
Okay. We want to thank you very much for your time today, and it's hope to see you again soon.
No problem. Au revoir.
All right.